Hello, and welcome to Storyland. It's so nice to have you here. If you love mysterious and fascinating history, make sure to subscribe and like this video so you never miss our weekly adventures into the past. Today, we journey back in time to explore one of the most astonishing achievements in human history. A structure so massive it can be seen from space. A wall that winds across mountains, deserts, and valleys. Built not only to protect a nation, but to shape the destiny of an entire civilization. This is the story of the Great Wall of China. Over 2,000 years ago, China was not a single unified empire. Instead, it was a land divided. 7 powerful kingdoms, each fighting for dominance. Raids from nomadic tribes threatened their borders, especially the fearsome Xiongnu warriors, known for their speed and brutal attacks. To protect their lands, the kings began to build walls. Not one wall, but many, each marking their territory. But as time passed, one visionary leader would rise, a ruler determined to unite China under his rule. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the very first emperor of China, and with his ambition came the dream of linking these scattered walls into one enormous defense system, a wall unlike anything the world had ever seen. The construction of the Great Wall was no easy task. Millions of laborers, soldiers, farmers, and prisoners were forced to work under brutal conditions. The work was dangerous. Many died from exhaustion, hunger, or the freezing cold. Legends even say that the bones of those who perished were buried within the wall itself, giving rise to its haunting nickname, the longest cemetery on Earth. But despite the suffering, the wall grew longer and stronger, stretching across mountains, deserts, and rivers. It became a symbol of China's strength and a warning to its enemies. But the Great Wall was more than just a military defense. It became a gateway of culture and trade, protecting merchants traveling along the legendary Silk Road. Through these routes, silk, spices, and precious treasures flowed, but so did ideas, inventions, and beliefs, connecting China to the rest of the world. The wall, once built to keep outsiders away, ironically became a bridge between civilizations. Imagine standing atop a mountain peak as the sun rises, painting the sky with hues of orange and red. Below you, stretching as far as the eye can see, is an ancient wall snaking through valleys, over mountains, and across deserts. It winds around the earth like a colossal dragon, seamlessly blending with the landscape. This is no mere ruin. It's the Great Wall of China, a testament to human determination and an enigma that has captured the world's imagination for centuries. The idea of a single wall safeguarding all of China was nothing new. For hundreds of years before the Qin Dynasty, various Chinese states had constructed walls to protect themselves against nomadic invaders from the north. These early walls were made of compacted earth, wood, or stone, depending on what was available. They weren't very high, just a few feet above the ground, and they weren't continuous either. There were gaps between them, and they didn't cover the entire border, but they did serve a purpose, creating a line of defense that could warn of an incoming attack and give the Chinese states time to prepare. But the war with the Xiongnu was costly and long, and the Xiongnu were always finding ways to outmaneuver the Chinese. So when Emperor Qin Shi Huang came to power in 221 BCE, he decided that it was time for a change. He wanted a wall that would be higher, thicker, and longer than any of the previous walls, and he wanted it to be made of brick, so that it would last longer and be more resistant to the elements. He also wanted it to be continuous, without any gaps for the Xiongnu to exploit. To build such a wall, he needed a lot of resources, both manpower and materials. He conscripted hundreds of thousands of laborers, mostly peasants and criminals, and organized them into work gangs. He also ordered that all large buildings in the empire be torn down and their timber used for the wall. He set up workshops to produce tools and weapons for the workers, and he created supply depots to distribute food and other necessities. He also appointed officials to oversee the construction and enforce the laws that governed it. One of these laws was the death penalty. Any worker who did not meet their quota or disobeyed orders was put to death, along with anyone who tried to help them. Another law was the conscription law. Any able-bodied male from a peasant family could be summoned to work on the wall for up to 2 months a year. They had to bring their own tools and supplies, and they could not leave until their shift was over. They were given a simple meal of millet gruel and a coarse cotton uniform, but they had to pay for everything else out of their own pocket. If they did not have enough money, they could borrow from the state at a high interest rate, or they could buy from their fellow workers at exorbitant prices. The work was hard and dangerous. The workers had to carry huge stones and bricks on their backs and move them into place with little or no equipment. They had to dig through hard clay and rock with picks and shovels and pour molten metal into molds to make defensive devices. They had to climb up and down ladders and scaffolding and wade through mud and water. They had to endure extreme weather and pests and diseases, and they had to deal with guards who were eager to punish them. If they made any mistake or violated any rule, the workers often died of exhaustion, starvation, cold exposure, or accidents, and their bodies were left on the wall or thrown into the moat. Yet somehow the wall kept growing. It grew longer and wider and taller, covering more ground and blocking more routes. It became a barrier that separated the Chinese from the Xiongnu, and vice versa. It also became a symbol that united the Chinese and inspired them with pride and loyalty. It symbolized the strength and unity of the empire, as well as the greatness and benevolence of the emperor. It was considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and one of the 3 great achievements of China. However, the Great Wall was not just a military structure. It was also a political, economic, and social project. It helped to define the boundaries of the empire and reinforce its sovereignty. It facilitated trade and communication between regions, and it regulated migration and settlement patterns. It also served as a platform for cultural exchange and military innovation. The wall attracted people from different backgrounds and professions who contributed their skills and knowledge to its construction and maintenance. It created jobs and opportunities for many, and it stimulated the production and consumption of goods and services. It also fostered cooperation and competition among states and regions, and it shaped the identity and image of China and its rulers. But the Great Wall was not just a static and monolithic structure. It was actually a dynamic and evolving system. It was constantly being repaired, renovated, and expanded by subsequent dynasties and rulers. It adapted to new technologies and techniques, and it integrated new materials and features. It incorporated new designs and functions, and it responded to new threats and challenges. It became a multi-purpose infrastructure that served multiple purposes and multiple users. It became a tourist attraction and a pilgrimage site for many. The Great Wall is one of the most recognizable and iconic landmarks in the world. It appears in countless books, movies, paintings, and photographs. It symbolizes China's rich history and cultural heritage, and it represents humanity's ingenuity and perseverance. It is a source of national pride and identity for the Chinese people, and it is a symbol of peace and cooperation for the world. As I stand here contemplating this ancient wonder, I am filled with awe and admiration for those who built it. I am amazed at the scale and complexity of the project and the effort and sacrifice it required. I am inspired by the courage and determination of the workers and the vision and leadership of the emperors. I am humbled by the legacy and impact of the wall and how it has shaped China and the world. If you're as fascinated by the Great Wall of China as I am, then I invite you to visit it and experience it for yourself. You can walk along its ramparts and imagine what it was like to guard it. You can explore its towers and battlements and see how they functioned. You can visit its museums and exhibitions and learn more about its history and significance. You can also take a hike or bike ride along its path and enjoy the scenery and tranquility it offers. You will discover that the Great Wall is not just a monument, but a living testament to human history and civilization. It is a place where you can connect with the past and the present, and where you can appreciate the beauty and diversity of our planet. The Great Wall of China is one of the most fascinating structures in the world, stretching over 13,000 miles. It's visible from space. It's a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. But what if there's more to the Great Wall than meets the eye? What if there are secrets hidden within its ancient stones? Secrets so profound they could change history forever. Well, today we're going beyond the bricks and mortars to uncover the truth behind the legends. Join us as we explore the shocking revelations that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the Great Wall of China. Get ready to be amazed. Before we dive in, let's set the stage. Picture this, a vast and rugged landscape of mountains and valleys. This is China during the Warring States period, a time of great turmoil and constant warfare between rival kingdoms. Amidst this chaos, the concept of building a wall for protection emerges. But it's not just any wall. It's a series of interconnected fortifications designed to keep enemies at bay. Each kingdom forges ahead independently, driven by the need for safety and security. And thus the initial idea of a united wall remains just that, an idea waiting for its time to take shape. Enter Qin Shi Huang, a name that echoes through history as the first emperor of a unified China. He envisioned a stronger, more prosperous China, free from the constant threat of invasion. He looked out over his domain and saw a patchwork quilt of smaller walls, each serving as a fragmented barrier against the outside world. But he dreamed of something more, something that would encircle the entire empire, creating a formidable defense system like no other. This is where the story takes a monumental turn. Emperor Qin Shi Huang decided to connect these existing walls, extending and strengthening them to form a continuous barrier that would stretch across the length and breadth of China's northern borders. It was an ambitious plan, audacious and awe-inspiring in its scope. But why stop there? The emperor's vision was not merely defensive. He wanted a structure that would symbolize his power, a tangible representation of his dominion over the land. And so the purpose of the wall expanded to include a way to monitor and control the movement of people and goods across the empire. Suddenly, the project took on a new urgency. The emperor was determined to see it completed as quickly as possible. To achieve this, he employed a massive and relentless workforce. Men were conscripted from across the empire, pulled from their homes and families to toil on the emperor's grand project. They toiled under the hot sun, hauling massive stones and bricks, their muscles aching, their spears often broken by the sheer magnitude of the task before them. Yet they pressed on, driven by the promise of a better, safer China. Yet even as the wall grew, so did the darkness that surrounded its construction. Rumors spread of forced labor, of lives cut short by exhaustion or accident, of entire villages wiped out as their men were taken for the emperor's army. The wall became a symbol not just of strength and unity, but also of oppression and sacrifice. As the wall neared completion, it cast a long shadow over the empire, a shadow that would linger for centuries to come. Now let's talk about some lesser-known facts that add depth to the intrigue of the Great Wall. Did you know that the construction of the wall was not a one-time event, but a series of projects spanning several centuries? From the 7th century BC to the 16th century AD, different dynasties added to, repaired or removed sections of the wall as their needs and resources allowed. This means that the Great Wall we see today is a mosaic of different eras, each with its own architectural style and purpose. The Great Wall is not just a physical barrier. It's a testament to the changing political and social dynamics of ancient China. During the Ming Dynasty, when the wall was at its most extensive, it wasn't just about keeping out invaders. It was also about controlling trade and migration. The wall became a tool for managing the vast population of China, regulating the flow of people and goods. This raises questions about the social impact of such control and the lengths to which those in power would go to maintain their authority. But the Great Wall is not just about power and control. It's also about survival. The harsh terrain and unforgiving environment of the northern borders of China demanded a sturdy defense against the elements as much as against human invaders. The wall, with its imposing presence, stood as a bulwark against the harsh realities of nature, providing shelter and safety to those who lived along its path. It is a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity, and the lengths to which people will go to protect themselves and their way of life. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Great Wall is its symbolism. Throughout history, the wall has been seen as a metaphor for the isolation of China from the rest of the world. But this interpretation overlooks the wall's original purpose as a means of connecting and controlling the vast empire. The wall, with its winding path, connected distant regions of China, binding them together under the rule of one emperor. It was a symbol of unity as much as it was a symbol of division. This duality of purpose adds a layer of complexity to the wall's symbolism, challenging us to look beyond the surface and consider the multiple meanings that have been ascribed to it over the centuries. So there you have it, a glimpse into the multifaceted world of the Great Wall of China. From its humble beginnings as a series of small defensive structures, to its evolution into a symbol of power, control, survival, and even unity. The wall's story is a captivating journey through Chinese history, each brick and stone whispering tales of a bygone era, each bend in its path revealing a new facet of its purpose. The Great Wall is more than just a tourist attraction. It's a living, breathing testament to the human spirit, a reminder of the challenges and triumphs of those who came before us, and an inspiration for those who strive to build a better future. The Great Wall may seem like a relic of the past, but its influence echoes through the ages. It continues to captivate the world's imagination, inspiring artists, writers, and dreamers alike. Its grandeur serves as a reminder of the heights to which humanity can aspire and the legacy we can leave for generations to come. The Great Wall is more than just a wall. It's a story of ambition and determination, of sacrifice and resilience, of power and control, of survival and unity. It is a story that has been passed down through the ages and continues to resonate with us today. And as long as its stones stand tall against the horizon, the story of the Great Wall will continue to captivate and inspire. But amidst the majesty of the Great Wall, there's a darker tale waiting to be told. A tale of tragedy, loss, and the hidden costs of this monumental achievement. The human cost. You see, behind every great achievement, there's a price that's often overlooked, and the construction of the Great Wall was no exception. The emperor's dream of a unified and protected China came at a steep cost. The lives of countless workers. These were ordinary people, farmers, laborers, soldiers, all conscripted to work on the wall. Torn from their homes and families with little or no pay, they toiled under the blazing sun and biting wind, hauling heavy stones and bricks, their bodies breaking under the strain. Many didn't survive the ordeal. They perished from exhaustion, starvation, or disease, their bodies buried beneath the very stones they were helping to lay. The human cost of the Great Wall goes beyond the statistics, beyond the numbers etched in stone. Each life lost represents a family torn apart, a community diminished, a future cut short. Their stories are a stark reminder of the human cost of ambition, of the price we pay for the comforts and protections the wall provided. It's a sobering thought that lingers long after the last stone has been laid. But there's another cost, one that's less tangible, yet no less real. The construction of the Great Wall was a tightly controlled endeavor. The emperor's vision was absolute, and any deviation, no matter how well-intentioned, was met with severe punishment. This led to a culture of fear and silence. Workers who dared to speak out against the harsh conditions or question the emperor's orders were silenced, often brutally. This created a climate of oppression, one that stifled creativity, discouraged innovation, and extinguished hope. The cost of the Great Wall isn't just measured in lives lost, but also in the stifling of the human spirit. It is a somber reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of speaking out against injustice. In the end, the Great Wall of China stands as a testament to both the ingenuity and brutality of ancient China. It's a marvel of engineering, a feat of endurance, a symbol of power. But it also represents a dark chapter in history, a time when the thirst for control and the desire for security came at a heavy cost. The stories of those who built it, the sweat, the blood, and the tears, the hopes and dreams that died along its length should not be forgotten. As we marvel at its grandeur, we must also remember the human cost, for it is only by understanding the full story that we can truly appreciate the significance of this ancient wonder. The history of the Great Wall is one of ambition, power, and war. It's been called the greatest construction project ever undertaken by mankind. But what if I told you it's also one of the most haunted? This is the first episode of Secrets of the Great Wall. Join me as we uncover the terrifying truth behind this ancient structure. Construction began in earnest back in 728 AD, under the rule of the Ming Dynasty, but continued off and on for hundreds more years, until finally being completed in 1644. It was built to keep out the Mongols. The intention was never for anyone to die there. At least, not intentionally. And yet it seems that's exactly what happened. Hundreds of thousands of laborers died making this thing. Most of them were conscripted soldiers or peasants with no choice but to do the emperor's bidding. A smaller number were criminals and prisoners of war who probably saw their service on the wall as a fate worse than death. With such a large labor force, it's hard to imagine how many lives were lost. What we do know is that it was brutal work. The laborers didn't get much training and worked without safety equipment or consideration for their health. Starvation was common. Accidents were frequent, and disease ran rampant. Those who survived the wall still had to endure another hardship: Most of the work was done between April and October, forcing the laborers to take shelter in caves during the winter months. These were harsh, dark, and cold, and offered little protection from the elements. Still, that didn't stop the rumors from spreading. According to some very old and very gruesome stories, the bodies of those who died while building the wall were actually buried inside of it, forever trapped within its stony confines. But perhaps the saddest story comes from the Ming Dynasty, specifically from the year 1575. This is the tale of Meng Jiangnu's legend. Meng Jiangnu was the wife of a soldier named Wang Dehun, who was ordered to help build the wall. Soon after he arrived, he wrote to his wife saying that he was busy with his new assignment and would write again when he had more time. Ne verdi. Months turned into years, and still there was no word from her husband. Meng Jiangnu heard rumors that something terrible had happened to him, that there had been an accident, that he had gotten sick and died. She didn't want to believe it though, and instead decided to go to the wall herself and find him. After a long and arduous journey, she found the section where her husband had been working. There she cried so hard that the bricks and stones started to fall away, revealing Wang Daowen's skeleton, grief-stricken. She cradled his bones and refused to stop crying until her own life force was spent. Some versions of the story say that she died right there in the wall, while others claim that she was buried alongside her husband. Either way, the legend of Meng Jiangnu continues to be remembered in Chinese culture as a heartbreaking tale of love and loss, and serves as a reminder of the human cost of the Great Wall. In more recent years, some people have tried to verify these stories, searching for evidence that people were buried inside the wall. Archaeologists haven't been able to confirm this. Some historians suggest that this is just a myth that developed over time. However, others argue that it's based on reality. There are strange occurrences that have been reported near the wall. Throughout history, people have seen things that they couldn't explain. Many of these stories are simply dismissed as hallucinations, but some remain unexplained to this day. We don't know whether or not people were intentionally buried within the Great Wall. But there is one thing we can be sure of: the lives that were lost building this structure. Whether they died from disease or starvation, fell victim to an accident, or were buried alive, they all paid the ultimate price so that the wall could stand, and it's possible that some of their spirits still linger nearby. Chapter 3: Dragons and Legends. When you look at a map of the Great Wall, you might notice something strange. It doesn't go straight. In fact, it sort of winds its way across the landscape, almost as if it were trying to avoid something. This is because it was designed to be as difficult to attack as possible. Its builders took full advantage of the natural landscape, using hills and valleys to their benefit. They also made sure to include watchtowers and guideposts at strategic intervals, so that soldiers could spot incoming enemies and sound the alarm. But the Great Wall didn't just appear out of thin air. It was built by following ancient maps and documents which described the area through which the wall would pass. And according to some reports, these maps were not created by humans at all, but by dragons. Chinese mythology is full of dragons, and they play an important role in the country's history. They're often depicted as wise and benevolent creatures who bring good fortune to those who respect them. However, they can also be dangerous and unpredictable, so it's important to treat them with caution. In the case of the Great Wall, it was said that a white dragon appeared to the Emperor Qin Shi Huang and showed him where the wall should be built. This ensured that it would be as effective as possible in keeping the Chinese people safe from their enemies. Another legend says that the dragon also helped the builders align the wall with the stars, giving it mystical powers that protected China from harm. Of course, these are just stories, but they reveal a lot about how the Chinese people viewed dragons and the role they played in their society. To them, dragons were not just mythical creatures, but powerful beings that should be respected and honored. However, dragons are not the only legendary creatures associated with the Great Wall. There are also said to be ghosts that roam the structure, especially around sections where soldiers die defending their land. These ghosts are not always malevolent, however, and some have even been known to help those who are lost or injured. One of the most famous stories about a ghost on the Great Wall comes from the Ming Dynasty. A traveler was walking along the wall when he came across a group of soldiers who were kneeling in front of a stone tablet. They were begging for mercy from the ghost of General Qi, who had died defending the wall against an invading army. The general's spirit was said to be so powerful that it caused anyone who passed by to feel immense sadness and despair. The traveler was moved by their plight and decided to help them. He wrote down a prayer for the general and his soldiers, and then nailed it to the stone tablet. As soon as he did this, the feeling of sadness and despair lifted and the soldiers were able to move on. This story shows that the ghosts that are said to roam the Great Wall are not always evil. In fact, they can sometimes be helpful to those who are willing to show them respect. Some people have even reported seeing ghosts on the wall for themselves. One Chinese woman said that she was walking along the wall when she saw a group of people in old-fashioned clothes. They were riding horses and carrying weapons, and they looked like they were about to fight a battle. She watched them for a while, but then they suddenly disappeared. Another person said that they were working on a restoration project when they saw the ghost of a young woman. She was crying and holding a lantern, and she seemed to be looking for someone. Then just like that, she vanished. These stories may seem unbelievable, but they are part of the rich history and culture surrounding the Great Wall. Whether or not you believe in ghosts, there's no denying that the wall is a place full of mystery and intrigue. Regardless, there's no denying that the Great Wall of China is truly special. Measuring over 21,000 kilometers long, it's an impressive feat of engineering and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its construction took centuries and involved hundreds of thousands of workers, soldiers, and even convicts, stretching across rugged terrain. It includes natural barriers like mountains and rivers, but also features watchtowers, battlements, and strategic gates. Most of the existing wall dates back to the Ming Dynasty. Built to protect against Mongol and Manchurian invaders, it typically stands about 5 meters high and 7 meters wide. However, sections near Beijing are remarkably well preserved and open to tourists, allowing visitors to walk along its ramparts and marvel at the panoramic views. Despite its age, the Great Wall remains an iconic symbol of Chinese culture and identity, inspiring awe and wonder in those who encounter it. Emperor Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor of unified China. He came to power after defeating his rivals and imposing his authority over the 7 kingdoms. But he soon realized that his newly unified empire was under constant threat from nomadic tribes to the north and west. Dese groups, known collectively as the Xiongnu, were fierce, horse-mounted warriors who raided into Chinese territory with ease. Without a strong barrier to protect his people, Emperor Qin decided to link the existing walls into one continuous defensive structure. He ordered his generals to survey the border regions and mark out the course of the new wall. His engineers then set to work surveying the terrain and planning the route. They needed to take into account the rugged landscape of northern China, which included vast deserts, towering mountains, and deep ravines. They also needed to consider the various materials that would be used to build the wall, such as wood, brick, and stone. After months of hard work, the engineers had completed their plans, and construction began. Over the next 4 years, hundreds of thousands of laborers were put to work building the wall. Among them were soldiers, criminals, and conscripted peasants who were forced to abandon their farms and take up shovels and pickaxes. Building a wall of this scale in such a remote area was no easy feat. The workers faced harsh conditions and dangerous terrain, but they pressed on. They hauled materials up steep hills, dug foundations into rocky soil, and raised the wall 1 brick at a time. As the wall grew, watchtowers were added for guards to keep watch for incoming enemies. Forts were built along the route for troops to rest and regroup, and gates were constructed to allow for the passage of people and goods. Despite the backbreaking work and constant danger, the workers pressed on, driven by the promise of reward and recognition from their emperor. By the end of the 4th year, the Great Wall was complete. It stretched over 5,500 miles across northern China, forming a formidable barrier against any potential invaders. The workers who had toiled for so long finally saw the fruits of their labor, and the emperor was pleased with the results. However, the Great Wall was far from invincible. In the years that followed, it was breached and rebuilt several times, but its basic structure remained intact for centuries. Emperor Qin Shi Huang was a ruthless ruler who cared little for the lives of his subjects. He treated his own people as expendable pawns in his game of conquest and power. He enforced harsh laws and punished those who disobeyed him. He was obsessed with immortality and spent vast sums of money on alchemy and other mystical arts, all while his people suffered. Despite his cruelty, Emperor Qin Shi Huang left behind a legacy that lived on for centuries. He unified China under his rule and created a centralized government that set the stage for future dynasties. He standardized weights and measures, introduced a new currency, and built infrastructure projects that connected the empire. While his methods were brutal and oppressive, his accomplishments were undeniable. Emperor Qin Shi Huang remains a controversial figure in Chinese history, remembered as both a tyrant and a visionary. The Great Wall of China is often seen as a symbol of strength and resilience. However, it's important to remember that it was built on the backs of countless individuals who endured immense suffering and hardship. Behind the imposing structure are the stories of millions of ordinary people who were caught up in the ambitions of emperors and warlords. Their struggles and sacrifices should not be forgotten. Instead, we should strive to learn from the mistakes of the past and ensure that such suffering is never repeated. The Great Wall of China reminds us of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity, but it also serves as a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of protecting the rights and dignity of all people. As we continue to explore the mysteries of ancient China, let's not forget the human cost of such monumental achievements. Let us honor the memory of those who built the Great Wall by working towards a better future for all humanity. In addition to its defensive function, the Great Wall of China served as a conduit for trade and cultural exchange along the legendary Silk Road. Along its length, the wall featured numerous checkpoints where goods and travelers could be inspected and taxed. These checkpoints were also staffed with interpreters and diplomats who could assist with communication and customs regulations. This facilitated the exchange of goods and ideas between the various regions of the empire. The wall itself was constructed using a variety of materials depending on the local resources available. In some areas, rammed earth was used, which involved compacting soil and gravel into a solid barrier. Other sections of the wall were built from brick or stone. The use of different materials led to a patchwork of construction techniques along the wall's length, reflecting the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the builders. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Great Wall of China is its network of watchtowers. These towers were strategically placed along the wall to provide an early warning system against incoming attacks. From these towers, guards could scan the horizon for signs of danger and alert the nearby garrisons. The watchtowers varied in size and design, but they all served the same purpose: to keep the defenders prepared for any eventuality. The construction of the Great Wall of China was a collaborative effort involving skilled engineers, architects, and laborers from various backgrounds. The project required not only technical expertise, but also innovative problem-solving skills to overcome the challenges posed by the terrain and climate. The Great Wall of China played a significant role in shaping the destiny of the nation. It protected Chinese civilization from outside invaders and provided a sense of security and stability for the empire. However, it's important to note that the wall was not impenetrable, and it had its limitations. Despite its grandeur, the Great Wall of China was not a foolproof defense mechanism. Invaders occasionally breached it, causing devastation and loss of life. Moreover, the wall's effectiveness depended heavily on the strength and vigilance of the military forces stationed along its length. Over the centuries, the Great Wall of China fell into disrepair, crumbling under the weight of neglect and time. However, in recent decades, there has been a concerted effort to preserve and restore this iconic structure. Restoration projects have focused on repairing damaged sections, stabilizing loose bricks, and reinforcing weak spots. These efforts have not only helped to preserve the wall's historical significance, but have also made it safer for tourists who come to marvel at its grandeur. The Great Wall of China is a testament to the ingenuity and determination of the ancient Chinese people. Its construction involved complex engineering techniques, innovative problem-solving, and the mobilization of vast resources. The wall's ability to withstand the test of time is a remarkable feat of engineering and a source of national pride. Today, the Great Wall of China stands as a symbol of China's rich history and cultural heritage. Its enduring presence on the landscape has captured the imagination of people around the world. Visiting the wall, especially at iconic locations like Badaling and Mute, allows tourists to connect with this ancient past and appreciate the legacy. There's no denying that the wall is a place full of mystery and intrigue. From the dragons that are said to have helped build it to the soldiers who died defending it, the Great Wall is a testament to the power and resilience of the Chinese people. It's also a place where the past and present come together in a truly unique way. we are going to tell you 3 true stories about the Great Wall of China. They will change everything you thought you knew about this world of wonder. The first story is one of the deadliest. It's the blood and the bricks. The Great Wall of China is the longest wall ever made by human hands. It snakes for over 13,000 miles through some of the most inhospitable landscapes on Earth. But how exactly did ancient China put this thing up? Well, the short answer is brute force and misery. And we mean hundreds of thousands of laborers. Over many centuries, China's emperors used the wall as a way to control and punish their subjects. Soldiers were given the choice of either enlisting or facing execution. Peasants were conscripted for months at a time out of the year. Prisoners were put to work on the wall as punishments. Disease ran rampant due to lack of sanitation and the spread of human waste. And according to ancient stories, when a worker died on the job, their body would be sewn up in a sack and buried inside the wall itself. Today, historians don't believe this is true, but it makes for a chilling story. A story about a woman named Ming Dynasty. She is considered the Chinese Juliet, Romeo and tragic heroine all in one. She lived during the reign of Emperor Shanhaiguan. He was the first man to unite China under one rule, and is credited with ordering the construction of the Great Wall. Many years before he came to power, different states had built walls to protect themselves from nomadic invaders. But the first emperor wanted one big wall to protect his great empire. Ming Dynasty's husband was among those called to build it. For months, she didn't hear from him, but then he wrote her a letter saying, "Don't come looking for me, just pray for me." He didn't have to tell her twice, but shortly after, news arrived that her husband's brigade had been wiped out by disease and buried along the wall. Even though she knew he was dead, she refused to believe it, so she set out on a journey to find his body and bring it home. When she finally found the spot where he was supposedly buried, she cried so hard that a section of the wall collapsed, and there was her husband's body. Other stories tell of the heartbroken woman causing the wall to crumble simply by singing a sad song. Either way, the legend of Ming Dynasty shows the Great Wall's effect on ordinary people. In Chinese culture, her spirit lives on as a symbol of love and defiance against imperial authority. Now let's move on to the second story, which has a bit of magic in it. Let's talk dragons. According to ancient Chinese folklore, dragons guided the path of the Great Wall. Back in 220 BC, there was a war between the mighty Qin Empire and the Xiongnu tribes. One day, the emperor was looking at a map trying to figure out how to best protect his northern borders. Then he saw a glimmer. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, but then out of the corner of his eye, he saw a dragon glide across the room and vanish into the mountains. Did dragons really show the emperor where to build the wall? Of course not. That's just a legend. Or is it? What we do know is that the early sections of the Great Wall followed a very winding path. This was done to confuse nomadic horsemen who attacked from the north. The wall took an extra effort to be indirect. This is pretty obvious when you see a map of the wall's path. There are so many twists and turns. It kinda looks like a dragon weaving through the landscape. If dragons did play a role in the wall's path, they must have been the architects of defense. Today, people still tell stories about the dragon's presence along the wall. Locals in some regions believe the wall has mystical energy that can grant wishes or curses. One story comes from the Shanxi province. It's about a hungry ghost that haunts a tower near the village of Na. The local people built a small shrine beside the road. They offered food and burned incense to honor the spirit. They believed this ghost was the soul of a soldier who died defending the land. After they began honoring the spirit, the ghost disappeared. But then something strange happened. The nearby watchtower, which had stood empty for decades, suddenly had new tenants. Soldiers moved right back in, and the tower became a vital part of the wall again. Which brings us to our final story. The Great Wall was more than just a barrier. It was a super weapon. We already told you that. The wall's defenders kept watch for signs of attack. And when they saw an enemy— Let's talk dragons. According to ancient Chinese folklore, dragons guided the path of the Great Wall. Back in 220 BC, there was a war between the mighty Qin Empire and the Xiongnu tribes. One day, the emperor was looking at a map trying to figure out how to best protect his northern borders. Then he saw a glimmer. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, but then out of the corner of his eye, he saw a dragon glide across the room and vanish into the mountains. Did dragons really show the emperor where to build the wall? Of course not. That's just a legend. Or is it? What we do know is that the early sections of the Great Wall followed a very winding path. This was done to confuse nomadic horsemen who attacked from the north. The wall took an extra effort to be indirect. This is pretty obvious when you see a map of the wall's path. There are so many twists and turns. It kinda looks like a dragon weaving through the landscape. If dragons did play a role in the wall's path, they must have been the architects of defense. Today, people still tell stories about the dragon's presence along the wall. Locals in some regions believe the wall has mystical energy that can grant wishes or curses. One story comes from the Shanxi province. It's about a hungry ghost that haunts a tower near the village of Na. The local people built a small shrine beside the road. They offered food and burned incense to honor the spirit. They believed this ghost was the soul of a soldier who died defending the land. After they began honoring the spirit, the ghost disappeared. But then something strange happened. The nearby watchtower, which had stood empty for decades, suddenly had new tenants. Soldiers moved right back in, and the tower became a vital part of the wall again. Which brings us to our final story. The Great Wall was more than just a barrier. It was a super weapon. We already told you that. The wall's defenders kept watch for signs of attack, and when they saw an enemy coming, they sent up a signal by day. It was a plume of smoke from burning straw. By night, it was a roaring fire on top of the wall. On a clear night, these beacons could warn a city hundreds of miles away in just hours. To put that in perspective, if a similar warning system was used today, it would be like lighting up Times Square and Facebook's headquarters at the same time. These towers were like ancient iPhones sending out texts that said, "Dude, we got an army coming." The wall also had secret storage rooms hidden inside its bases. They were used to stash weapons, food, and other supplies. The wall was also a tool of imperial propaganda. Its construction required a huge amount of money, manpower, and organization. By building this marvel, the emperor showed his subjects how rich and powerful he was. The Great Wall was designed to keep enemies out. But what was life like for the people who patrolled it? Watch this video to find out. Chapter 5. When the wall failed in the popular imagination. The Great Wall of China is an icon of human perseverance and an engineering marvel that was virtually impenetrable. But, like most historical constructions, it had its weak points and some very memorable fails. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the many places where the wall was defeated by determined invaders. It was certainly not built with modern materials. And while it may have been extensive, it wasn't exactly high-tech. In many places, the wall was just dirt and stone. And when those man-made barriers were breached, the consequences could be devastating. Over the course of its many centuries of existence, the Great Wall has been attacked hundreds of times. But none were more calamitous than the Mongol invasions that began in the early 13th century. These campaigns were led by the great Khan Genghis Khan and his successors, and they almost succeeded in destroying the entire thing. After his death, Genghis Khan, his empire split up into 4 separate khanates, which went on to conquer most of the known world. They were especially vicious and effective in their attacks on the Chinese. So much so that one of the chief military tactics of the era was simply terror. If the Mongols sent out a contingent of men to attack a city, the local leaders would often surrender without even putting up a fight, after hearing about what happened to the last folks who tried to resist them. Of course, there are famous stories about the Mongols being wiped out by poison gas arrows, but that's not why Chinese cities fell like dominoes. There's no evidence that such weapons were ever used. Instead, the Mongols simply brought overwhelming force to bear on the Chinese, and if the Great Wall was meant to stop them, that plan kind of failed. The Mongols knew the wall's weak points. Many of the passes through the mountains were unguarded or undermanned, and once inside the wall, they employed guerrilla tactics to harass the Chinese forces and prevent them from repairing the damage. This was made easier because, unlike the Chinese, the Mongols were excellent horse riders and could travel quickly across the terrain. Some parts of the wall weren't patrolled regularly because the terrain was thought to be impassable. The Mongols took advantage of these areas and rode right through the desert sections. This might have been possible thanks to their mobility and also because the wall was poorly maintained in those areas, especially in the shifting sands. The Mongols would come close to destroying the entire wall, but they didn't. Eventually, the Chinese would regroup and start rebuilding. That's where things get weird. One of the most successful ways the Mongols penetrated the wall was with the simple application of cash. Bribery was a common way to get through the wall undetected or unguarded. Apparently, some officials were paid handsomely to look the other way. And given how vast the wall was, there were plenty of opportunities to make such arrangements. But even when the Mongols managed to sneak past the wall or break through it, they still sometimes resorted to subterfuge. One of the most well-known stories about the failure of the wall is the tale of Khizar Taimur. He was a Mongol prince who ended up defecting to the Chinese side. After he defected, the Chinese put him in charge of defending a section of the wall. According to legend, Timur got bored and decided to throw the whole thing to the dogs. He opened up the gates and led the Mongols through, then feigned a battle with the enemy, pilfering their loot while fighting on both sides. This isn't likely to have actually happened. Stories like this one were usually designed to demonize the Mongols, making them seem treacherous and disloyal. While Timur did betray his Mongol brethren, there's no reason to think he opened up the gates for them. At best, he may have allowed them to enter unopposed. Despite its flaws, the Chinese did continue to try to defend the wall against the Mongols. They rebuilt and reinforced it during the Yuan, Ming and Qing dynasties. During the Ming Dynasty alone, around 2,000 miles of the wall were rebuilt and strengthened. Over 15,000 watchtowers were constructed along its length, along with garrisons to staff them. Between the mid-14th and 17th centuries, the Chinese wanted to make sure nothing like the Mongol invasion would happen again. So they built the wall into what we recognize it as today. Chapter 6: Forgotten Secrets After Centuries of Neglect. Starting in the early 20th century, archaeologists began to rediscover the wall and excavate various portions of it. A lot of the wall is still standing and can be visited today, but a large amount has fallen into disrepair. Much of the original structure is now lost beneath sand dunes or buried in jungle undergrowth. Even sections that appear to be intact above ground are sometimes only half of what they once were. Parts of the wall are still undocumented, especially in the remote deserts of the West, so there is still a good chance that there are hidden stretches of the structure waiting to be found. In recent years, scientists have been employing a variety of high-tech methods to scan hidden portions of the wall. In 2015, radar scans made it possible to identify tunnels beneath the ruins of a guard post at the Jiayuguan Pass. These tunnels are believed to have been used for smuggling and other illicit activities, but researchers also discovered rooms that were likely used to store food and other supplies. It may have been possible to live down there as well, perhaps in relative safety from the elements or invaders. Another non-invasive scanning technique called electrical resistivity tomography has been used to find structures that were previously unknown. In some cases, this method has even turned up relics like swords, arrowheads, and even pieces of cloth. While it hasn't uncovered any major hidden chambers or passages, it's given researchers a better idea of how people lived while stationed along the wall. Most excitingly, there may still be undiscovered chambers buried within the wall. It is widely believed that there are secret rooms concealed beneath the structure that contain ancient scrolls and valuable treasures. Some theories suggest that the bricks in certain sections of the wall were hollow and may have been used to hide sensitive documents or artifacts. Others say there are underground vaults filled with gold and precious gems, but so far, none of these hidden chambers have been confirmed to exist. It's easy to forget that, despite its size, the Great Wall of China is still an archaeological site. We're still learning about how it was constructed and how people lived while working on it, or defending it. Much of what we think we know comes from written records or educated guesses. New discoveries are made every year, and we're constantly revising our understanding of what life was like along the wall. Maybe one day we'll find one of those fabled hidden chambers and learn something new about ancient China. Or maybe the legends are just that. Either way, there's still a lot that we don't know about the wall, and there are sure to be more surprises in store. There's a lot more to the Great Wall of China than meets the eye. Now check out how the Great Wall of China was built, or watch Ancient Mysteries of the Great Pyramid. The Great Wall of China is an ancient engineering marvel. Its many forms have stretched for over 21,000 kilometers, through some of the most inhospitable landscapes imaginable. It's been called the longest cemetery on Earth, the eighth wonder of the world, and the largest tomb ever built. But behind these superlatives lies a story that might surprise you. What if I told you the wall was never finished? Or that it was betrayed from within? Or that it's hiding secrets beneath our very noses? Hi everyone, Welcome to my channel. Join me today as we uncover secrets about the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China has a long history dating back almost 2,500 years. Initially built as a series of smaller walls, it evolved into a unified defense system against nomadic invaders. But despite its grandeur, the wall was not impenetrable. During the 13th century, Genghis Khan and his Mongol armies swept across the north. They didn't always fight head-on. Often they bribed or tricked local commanders to open the gates. The wall could only stop enemies as long as the people defending it remained loyal. Over the centuries, different dynasties added to and modified the wall. The version most people associate with the Great Wall was built during the Ming Dynasty, over 1,000 years after Qin Shi Huang's time. This version of the wall was made of stone and brick, far stronger than the earlier. The Ming also added watchtowers, fortresses, and more advanced defenses, creating the iconic structure we recognize today. However, not all sections of the wall are of equal length. In fact, at one point the emperors even considered abandoning its construction altogether due to high costs. While the northern parts of the wall protected against nomadic raids, the southern regions served a different purpose. Here, mountains and rivers already provided natural barriers, so the wall acted more as a border marker and a checkpoint for travelers along the Silk Road. Imagine walking up to a towering structure and showing your papers to an official before being waved through. This is how the wall functioned in the south. But wait, don't think the wall was just for soldiers. Families lived nearby, supporting the garrisons with food and trade. The wall wasn't just a defensive structure, it was a community, a way of life. Along its length, you'd find houses, shops, and even schools. It's like a city, but instead of skyscrapers, it had watchtowers. These communities thrived thanks to the merchants who traveled along the wall. We often think of traders when discussing the Silk Road, but remember, the Silk Road wasn't a road, it was a network of routes, and the Great Wall was closely tied to it, connecting China to the rest of the ancient world. It was a bustling hub of activity, a place where goods from across Asia were bought and sold. The wall was a witness to this exchange, watching as merchants from distant lands brought their wares to Chinese markets. It saw the introduction of new ideas, technologies, and customs. But the wall wasn't just a marketplace. It was also a crossroads of cultures. The people who lived along the wall came from diverse backgrounds, speaking different languages and following different customs. Despite these differences, they formed a community, sharing their traditions and creating a unique way of life. The wall became a melting pot of cultures, a testament to the diversity of the ancient world. For many, the wall was both a protector and a prison. While it kept out invaders and defined the borders of China, it also restricted the movement of its own people. Ordinary citizens were forbidden to approach the wall without permission, let alone climb it. Those caught trying to breach the wall faced severe punishment, including exile or even execution. The wall became a symbol of the Chinese state's power, a reminder of the consequences of disobeying the emperor. But the wall's grip wasn't absolute. Throughout history, there have been tales of bravery and daring escapes. Legend has it that some people managed to scale the wall, either to deliver secret messages or to flee persecution. These stories, while perhaps apocryphal, speak to the human spirit's desire for freedom and the will to overcome even the greatest obstacles. But the Great Wall's grip was not absolute. Over the centuries, the wall fell into disrepair. Natural disasters and changing political allegiances caused sections of it to crumble. Earthquakes shook the land, causing parts of the wall to collapse. As the dynasties that built and maintained the wall declined, the structure suffered. Storms eroded its foundations, turning the relentless rain and wind into tiny hammers chipping away at the wall's resilience. Invasions and battles left scars on its surface, each wound telling a tale of struggle and survival. Through it all, the wall stood firm, bearing witness to the changing fortunes of the Chinese states. Yet even in its decline, the wall held on to its grandeur. It became overgrown with vegetation, with trees taking root in its battlements and flowers cascading over its parapets. The wall was embraced by nature, transforming into a tapestry of green. It was no longer just a structure of stone and brick, but a living, breathing part of the landscape. Even today, the wall's legacy lives on. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of China's top tourist destinations. Millions of visitors from around the world come to marvel at its grandeur and walk in the footsteps of those who came before them. When you stand before the Great Wall, it's hard not to feel a sense of awe. It's a structure that has endured for centuries, a testament to the power of human determination and ingenuity. The wall was never finished. There are gaps along its path, not just because of natural obstacles, but also due to the deliberate choices of the rulers of the past. Some sections were simply too costly to build or maintain, so they were abandoned, leaving behind incomplete stretches of the wall. It's a stark reminder that even the greatest projects can be halted, that no structure is immune to the constraints of time and resources. And here's another secret. The wall is hiding secrets beneath our very noses. Even today, archaeologists are making stunning discoveries. Using drones and ground-penetrating radar, they've found collapsed tunnels, secret rooms, and entire sections of the wall buried under sand. Some researchers believe there are still hidden chambers containing ancient scrolls, maps, and treasures yet to be uncovered. Imagine stumbling upon a dusty scroll, carefully unrolling it to reveal secrets written in an ancient script. What if these scrolls contained information about a lost section of the wall or a hidden chamber? The thought is both exciting and daunting. The Great Wall of China is more than just a collection of stones and bricks. It's a symbol of human endeavor, a testament to the power of community, and a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. The wall stretches across deserts, over mountains, around rivers, and through farmland. It winds for almost 13,000 miles, protecting the Middle Kingdom from invaders, one stone at a time. Even today, it stands tall and proud, an emblem of Chinese ingenuity and spirit. But its path isn't always obvious. Many sections have crumbled into dust, and others lie buried under farmlands or are obscured by encroaching trees. But let me ask you, have you ever wondered how exactly this monumental structure came to be, or who built it, and why? As we embark on our journey, we'll uncover not only how the Great Wall was built, but also the fascinating stories behind its construction. Get ready to be amazed by the ingenuity, sacrifice, and sheer determination of those who made this marvel possible. And don't forget to show your support. With that said, let's dive right in. How did the Great Wall come to be? The idea of a wall to protect China's northern borders can be traced back to as early as the 7th century BC during the spring and autumn period. At that time, various states built independent walls to defend themselves from nomadic Xiongnu tribes. However, it was not until the Qin dynasty in the 3rd century BC that the first unified wall was constructed, connecting these earlier fortifications. This initial wall, while significant, was far from the grand structure we know today. Fast forward to the 13th and 14th centuries during the Ming Dynasty. When the wall saw its most extensive construction, BTS Point, China faced new threats from nomadic groups like the Mongols and the Manchurians. In response, successive Ming emperors embarked on massive projects to strengthen and extend the Great Wall. Over the next few centuries, the wall's network expanded dramatically, snaking its way over 13,000 miles across rugged terrain. Its strategic placement aimed to deter invaders, while allowing for quick troop deployment along its length. Why was the Great Wall built? The primary purpose of the Great Wall was to defend China's vast empire from nomadic invaders. Throughout history, China's northern and western borders were frequently targeted by groups seeking land and resources. The wall served as a physical barrier, slowing down enemy advances and providing time for the Chinese army to mobilize. Additionally, it helped to regulate trade and migration along the borders, allowing the Chinese government to collect taxes and monitor the movement of people and goods. Each brick and stone laid along the wall was a testament to the Chinese people's resilience and determination to protect their homeland. And while its effectiveness as a defensive structure varied over the centuries, its symbolic importance as a protector of Chinese culture and identity remained constant. Who built the Great Wall? Building the Great Wall was a monumental task that involved hundreds of thousands of laborers over several centuries. During the Ming Dynasty, the majority of the wall's construction was carried out by civilian conscripts, farmers who were required to work on the wall for a set period each year. These workers toiled in harsh conditions, hauling materials, mixing mortars and laying bricks and stones. Despite the grueling labor and frequent dangers, these ordinary people made extraordinary contributions to the wall's construction. Their dedication and sacrifice ensured that this iconic structure would stand as a testament to human endurance and achievement for generations to come. What are some interesting facts about the Great Wall? Did you know that parts of the Great Wall were actually made of wood? During the early periods of its construction, when stone and brick were scarce, the Chinese used whatever materials they had available, including wood. This made the wall more vulnerable to natural disasters like floods and fires, but it allowed the people of China to create a protective barrier against invaders. In fact, many sections of the wooden wall still stand today, giving visitors a glimpse into the ingenuity of the ancient builders. Another interesting fact about the Great Wall is that it wasn't just a defensive structure, but also a symbol of Chinese power and unity. Standing over 20 feet tall in some places, it was designed not only to keep invaders out, but also to impress them. In fact, the Great Wall was so massive that it could be seen for miles, serving as a reminder of the strength and determination of the Chinese people. However, despite its imposing presence, the Great Wall had its limitations. It couldn't always prevent attacks from enemies who used hit-and-run tactics, or simply bypassed the wall altogether. In fact, many battles were fought along and around the Great Wall, as Chinese soldiers defended their homeland from those who sought to conquer it. Nevertheless, the Great Wall remained a vital part of China's defense system for centuries, protecting the country from invaders and helping to preserve its rich history and culture. The construction of the Great Wall of China is a testament to the power of human ambition and perseverance. In addition to its practical purpose, the Great Wall also served as a conduit for cultural exchange between different regions of China. As travelers and merchants passed along the wall's many checkpoints, they brought with them new ideas, goods, and customs that helped to bind the empire together. The wall's numerous watchtowers and signal stations not only aided in defense, but also facilitated communication and coordination among the various regions of China. This interconnectedness helped to foster a sense of unity and cooperation among the people, enabling them to effectively resist outside threats and maintain social order. Despite its grandeur, the Great Wall wasn't without its flaws. Its construction often relied on forced labor and resulted in the loss of life. Furthermore, the wall's effectiveness as a defensive structure was often limited by its inability to prevent attacks from more nimble and elusive enemies. Nevertheless, the Great Wall's enduring legacy as a symbol of Chinese pride and resilience continues to inspire awe and wonder in all who behold it. In modern times, the Great Wall's historical significance and cultural value have led to its preservation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its ruins scattered across China's vast landscape serve as a reminder of the country's rich history and the sacrifices made by countless individuals to protect their homeland. As you gaze upon the majestic ruins of the Great Wall, let your mind wander through the centuries and imagine the lives of those who built and defended this incredible structure. Picture the sun rising over the eastern hills, casting long shadows of the wall's sturdy ramparts. Envision the weary soldiers standing watch atop the towers, scanning the horizon for signs of danger. Feel the rumble of chariots and the clash of steel as armies clashed along the wall's length. Let the wind carry you back in time to when the Great Wall was a living, breathing entity, a bulwark against the chaos of the world beyond. Now, close your eyes and imagine yourself walking along the ancient path, each step echoing with the footsteps of countless travelers who came before you. Run your fingers along the weathered stones and feel the rough texture beneath your touch. Listen to the birdsong and the rustling of leaves as you stand among the crumbling watchtowers, remnants of a glorious past. In this place of faded grandeur, you'll find not just bricks and mortar, but the echoes of a nation's soul. So as you explore the Great Wall's winding paths, embrace the sense of wonder and appreciation for the countless lives that have touched this remarkable site. Let its ancient stones whisper their secrets to you and carry your own story back through time. For here, where past and present converge, you'll discover a legacy that will endure for generations to come. It's one of the most extraordinary feats of engineering in the history of mankind. Stretching over 13,000 miles, the Great Wall of China is a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. But behind its imposing structure lies a story that few people know about. What happens when you make an ancient wall come alive? Stay tuned till the end to find out. The construction of the wall came at a terrible human cost. Workers faced brutal conditions, scorching heat, freezing winters, starvation, and relentless exhaustion. It was a backbreaking and dangerous job, and if a worker died, there was no time for burial. Instead, they were buried within the wall itself, their bones hidden inside the stones they built. This gave rise to the chilling name, the longest cemetery on Earth. Among the countless tales born from this suffering, none is more famous than the legend of Ming Dynasty. She was a young woman whose husband was taken by force to work on the wall. When he never returned, she traveled thousands of miles to find him. Upon learning he had died and been buried in the wall, she wept with such grief that an entire section of the wall collapsed, revealing his body. Today, her story symbolizes love, sacrifice, and defiance against tyranny. Did you know that according to some legends, the Great Wall of China was actually built with the help of dragons? Yes, you heard that right. Folklore says that these mythical creatures guided the construction of the wall, ensuring its strength and longevity. But that's not all. These same legends hold that the wall's unique shape, which twists and winds for thousands of miles, actually follows the path of a heavenly dragon. This gives the wall immense spiritual power and protects it from harm. Imagine standing in a remote village at the foot of the Great Wall, watching as the sun rises over the horizon. As the first rays of light touch the wall, you join the villagers in their ancient dragon ritual. They are praying for your safety and good fortune on your journey along this ancient wonder. You can almost feel the presence of the dragons as you walk along the wall, their spirit guiding you every step of the way. It's a truly mystical experience that will stay with you long after you leave the wall behind. Some believe that the wall is haunted by the spirits of those who died during its construction. It's said that if you listen closely, you can hear the whispers of workers from centuries past, calling out to you from the shadows. Are these whispers simply the wind playing tricks on your ears? Or is there something more to this eerie sound? The legend adds an extra layer of intrigue to exploring the wall, leaving visitors with a sense of wonder and unease. But perhaps even more fascinating than the legends is the actual construction of the wall itself. Built over several centuries, the wall is a true testament to human endurance and ingenuity. Imagine walking along the top of the wall, looking out over the vast landscape that stretches as far as the eye can see. You can't help but feel a sense of awe at the sheer scale of this ancient structure and the countless lives that were dedicated to its construction. As you explore the different sections of the wall, you'll notice that each one is unique in its own way. Some parts are made of towering bricks, while others feature rough-hewn stones. You can even see the remains of watchtowers and battlements, which once housed soldiers who guarded the wall from invaders. It's like stepping back in time and experiencing the wall in all its former glory. And then there's the scenery. The Great Wall doesn't just consist of the wall itself, but also the stunning natural beauty that surrounds it. Imagine hiking along a section of the wall that winds through a lush forest, or climbing up a steep pass that offers breathtaking views of the mountains and valleys below. You can even visit some of the ancient villages that are nestled in the shadow of the wall, where you can sample local delicacies and learn about the traditional way of life. One of the most impressive aspects of the wall is its sheer length, stretching over 13,000 miles. It's the longest man-made structure in the world. As you walk along the wall, you'll constantly be aware of its immense scale, knowing that you're following in the footsteps of countless emperors, generals, and soldiers who came before you. But the Great Wall of China isn't just a place to hike. It's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site that's home to some of the most important historical artifacts in China. As you explored the wall, you will have the opportunity to learn about the fascinating history of this ancient civilization and the many dynasties that ruled over China throughout the centuries. The Great Wall of China is more than just a tourist attraction. It is a place where history comes alive, and where you can experience the beauty and mystery of one of the world's most ancient civilizations. So if you're planning a trip to China, be sure to include the Great Wall of China on your list of must-see destinations. You won't regret it. The wall wasn't just a physical barrier, it was a sophisticated military network. Beacon towers were placed at intervals, allowing soldiers to send smoke signals by day and fire signals by night, relaying messages across vast distances in mere hours. These signals could warn of approaching armies or other dangers, giving the defenders time to prepare. Some towers contained hidden rooms for storing weapons, food, and supplies, an early example of military logistics. But the wall was more than just a military installation. It was also a symbol of Chinese power and unity. Each section was built with its own unique style of architecture, reflecting the culture and values of the dynasty that constructed it. The wall was a source of national pride and a reminder of the strength and resilience of the Chinese people. Today, visitors from around the world come to marvel at the Great Wall of China. It's a popular destination for hikers, history buffs, and anyone who wants to experience the beauty and mystery of this ancient wonder. Some come to pay their respects to the ancestors who died during its construction, while others come to simply enjoy the stunning scenery. No matter why you come, one thing is certain: you won't forget it. Walking along the Great Wall of China is an unforgettable experience. You'll have the chance to explore one of the most important historical sites in the world and see the stunning natural beauty that surrounds it. Whether you're hiking for miles or simply taking in the views from a watchtower, the Great Wall will leave a lasting impression on you. If you're really looking for an adventure that will take you back in time and connect you to the rich history of China, then look no further than the Great Wall of China. Today, the Great Wall of China is more than just a wall. It is a symbol of Chinese history and pride. It's visible from space, a lasting mark of human ambition. Reflect on what it means, both the glory and the tragedy behind its stones. The Great Wall of China is more than just a wall. It is a monument to human ambition, sacrifice, and resilience. For over 2,000 years, it has stood watch over empires, invasions, and the passage of time itself. So what are you waiting for? Start planning your trip today and get ready to experience one of the most amazing places on Earth. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. Have you ever visited the Great Wall of China? Would you go there someday? We would love to know your thoughts. Please share them with us in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to Storyland for more amazing tales of history and mystery. Your support inspires us to keep exploring the world's most fascinating stories. Thanks for watching. See you next time.